The What's Neat This Week video podcast is supported by enthusiastic model railroaders just like you. Additional support is provided by Athearn Trains. Check out all their new monthly announcements at athearn.com. And by Intermountain Railway Company, where the detail makes the difference. Check out their website at intermountain-railway.com. The National Model Railroad Association, where membership has its benefits. Check out their website at nmra.org. Additional support is provided by TCS, Train Control Systems. Check out their high-quality DCC sound decoders, throttles, accessories, and more at tcsdcc.com. Further support is provided by the NCE Corporation, the power of DCC. Visit their website at ncedcc.com. And thank you for supporting the What's Neat This Week podcast. This is the What's Neat This Week show / podcast, number 137 for November 21st, 2020. This is that show where we all get together and talk about what's really neat this week in the best hobby in the world, the hobby of model railroading. I'm your host, Ken Patterson, the host of the What's Neat show at Model Railroad Hobbyist Magazine. I love to say that. And I've been working really hard on January's video already. Working on some great big pine trees over there in the shop, and we're going to do some more filming on that tonight. There's 5 different ways to make pine trees, and we're going to show all 5 on that show. Tonight, We've got some great guests on the show. First of all, for a first time in a long time, we don't have Daniel Coombs behind the camera. He's right in front of the camera tonight.
I'm right here, guys.
Yeah. All right. I've also got in studio James Regier. We haven't seen you in a while either, James.
Hi.
Hey, James, your Trackmobile video is a hit. I'm sure James is loving that as well.
Well, you know, I hope so. It was adventure making that thing for sure.
Rock and roll. And out in Skype land tonight, look at the beautiful people we have in Skype. I've got Jim Wiggin over here from Athearn Trains. You know him as a new brand manager. Hi, Jim.
Hey, how's it going, Ken?
It's going good today. So far, so good, except for the rain outside. And I also have Christina Zambri. She's been on the show once before. Hi, Christina.
Hey, guys. How are you?
It's awesome to have you back on the show with us.
Happy to be back.
And we've got a lot of things to talk about tonight. Is that right, James? We're going to start out with, we're going to start out talking about some wheels, because that is something I did an article on in Mainline Modeler some time back, and the article was entitled, Wheels Are Models Too. Yeah. Because it's the one thing that seems to be overlooked a lot in the hobby, and that's the contour and the profile of wheel sets, not to mention the fact that you want your freight cars to roll really well. The needle points make all the difference in the world in that.
Right.
I had Frank Angstead. You know him as the proprietor and owner of InterMountain Railway Company out in Colorado. And he was here one time back in 1996, and I believe there was a train show in town, and that's why we had everybody down here in the basement back then. And I talked to Frank about wheel sets, just like we're going to talk about them tonight, because I pointed out to him also that the flange width makes all the difference in the world. Now, the NMRA set a standard for the flanges so that they were the right width. I think that's the RP25. Is that right, Jim? Yep. Am I getting that right, guys? And
I think that's correct.
I discussed the details of wheels with Frank, and Frank listened to me. And what we did was I went out and measured a prototype wheel, and I measured the dimensions on that, and I'm showing you a picture of that right now. And sure enough, after Frank and I had that discussion that night down here in the basement, it wasn't a studio back then, he sent me some wheel sets a month later and said, I listened to what you said, and I'm creating these wheels, and they were P87 wheels. And what that was a more scale profile width wheel. In fact, I'll show you a picture of one of those right now next to a standard wheel set in this slide that I'm showing you, and I'm going to hold these up so I can see them myself. And so he told me, he said, I'm sending you these wheels because I want you to test them on a club layout nearest to you in St. Louis. And I went to the Kirkwood Railroad Association in Kirkwood to do it, to do the test. And sure enough, the P87 wheels, the thinner flange wheels, worked. They worked really well. They didn't derail on the Atlas switches or any of the track that they had on that layout. So that was the go-ahead for them to come out with their wheel sets, which they did. And that's when I came out with that article in Mainline Modeler on wheel sets. Here's a hopper car where I put the wheel sets you can see the thinner profile wheel set and what they really look like. And then I'll show you a picture, a side-by-side shot of standard wheels, the standard NMRA standard wheel set, and the thinner Intermountain wheel right next to it. Look at the difference. You can see that.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
just one detail on coal cars, hopper cars, and those cars that have got the open framework where you can actually see the wheel from on top and from the end, where it really makes a difference visually.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, and you know, I tell you what, when we converted all of our old rolling stock, you know, the old reliable Athearn Blue Box, all the old Walters stuff.
Yep.
The Intermountain wheels were our top choice for doing this. And as a matter of fact, one of the articles that I'm editing for Model Railroad Hobbyist for Running Extra, they're talking about upgrading and tuning up your cars so that you can upgrade even the oldest car on your layout to running modern standards. And what do they recommend but Intermountain wheels?
One thing I was going to say is that there's a truck tuner tool that it's a dual drill bit, and you can put it inside the middle of your truck, and you can actually twist it back and forth to kind of
I've
fine
seen
tune
that from
the
Micromark.
operation.
Micromark, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, to make a long story short, real quick here, Intermountain did make the wheels. They make them in the standard RPM width, the standard National Model Railroad Association standards, the width of the wheels that they created. And they also make the P87 wheel, the thinner profile wheel, which looks really fantastic. They make these in HO scale in 28-inch, 33-inch, 36-inch, and 38-inch wheels. So that covers the gambit. That covers the small spline cars. Remember the Athearn spline cars that carried the intermodals? Those took the 28-inch wheels, but yet some of these container cars take the great big 38-inch wheels. They also make them in N-scale for you N-scale guys out there, and I know you're out there because we get you guys in readers' comments all the time.
Absolutely.
Indeed.
They make them in 36-inch, 33-inch, and 34.5-inch microtrain wheels. They sell them in 100 bulk packs and 12-pack blister packs. So you can find those at your favorite hobby shop.
And they're pretty economical for those big packs, too.
True that.
You can never run out of wheels.
They also make them in O-scale, guys, for the O-scale 2 rail guys.
Ooh.
So here's Intermountain, and they've sold over 1 million sets of wheels since that day back in 1996 that Frank and I had that conversation.
That's a lot of wheels.
Wow.
I know, right?
A lot.
Hats off to Intermountain. I wanted to be able to bring that up and talk about that a little bit tonight because, again, wheels are models too, and it's an important thing for us to look at on our freight cars. So how about that?
Yeah.
So, Christina, welcome. What was it? How have you been? How's your daughter? And how's the model building on your end?
We're good. Daughter's good. If this whole entire pandemic thing would go away, I would probably have gotten a little further on my modeling, but it's hard because I'm playing NMRA and stay-at-home mom and teacher, and she's on Zoom every day and for kindergarten. So basically every time I sit for 5 minutes and try to do something, the door opens from the office, "Mommy, Mommy." So while I'd love to say that I've come further in my modeling, not had so much time yet to actually do that. But I can tell you, though, that following my last visit to your show, which I had a blast on, I did get quite a number of emails from people. And someone had heard that I was interested in Civil War era model railroading and reached out to me, and they happened to be part of a Civil War Historical Society model railroad group that is actually based right here in New Jersey. So I hooked up with those guys, and so now when I am totally ready to start, I have an entire pool of people that just model what I'm interested in.
Oh,
So not only do I have the NMRA members and you guys and people I've met and friends I've made, I've got this whole historical society now that found me, and they found me through your show. So
That's neat.
That
Yeah,
is neat.
yeah, that was really, really cool. I
Very
thought that
cool.
was really cool. So hopefully my daughter starts school on a hybrid schedule next month. So hopefully every other week I'll have some time to really dig into it more. And I was checking out my basement yesterday and measuring it a little bit and seeing seeing how much space I can devote and still not have my husband kill me. So
So you're going to build an HO scale layout, is that right, Christina?
that's the plan. I may start out with like a little, modular, a little diorama or something just to practice things. And like I said, I've got some structures I've been building just to learn some of the tips and tricks of the trade and figure out what I'm doing and what tools I'm going to need. And I've already, you mentioned Micromark earlier. I got my first actual set of tools from them. So I've got my own little toolbox now and the basics that I think I'll need. And we've got a great hobby shop here, the oldest hobby shop in the country, I might add. And I've got support. Oh, and operating started up again with another NMRA member 5 minutes from me. So we will begin operating again the end of November. So I'll get to do that and improve my skills there. So things, so far so good. We're healthy. The house is decorated for Christmas already.
No way.
Oh my gosh, that's
Yeah,
quick.
why not?
That was
right?
quick.
Why not? Well,
I gotta be in every day, all day. I want it to be festive, and I literally throw up Christmas in my house. Like everything comes down and gets replaced by Christmas stuff. So
How about that?
as a matter of fact, they had me throw up the Christmas decorations to the Magic House as well. Threw up that Rudolph car and the Christmas car that I did a few years ago.
That's that
So,
museum that you work
yeah.
at out in Kirkwood. Are they open now, or has COVID got them shut down?
They are still open. They're operating at about 10% capacity thereabouts, so that hopefully everybody's able to socially distance. And
And the Transportation Museum in St. Louis was supposed to give their guidelines by Friday. Were they able to do that and get that open? Have you heard anything about
I
that?
have not heard anything about that.
Now,
Neither have I.
Christina, something I think that we would all suggest to you, and I'm going to use Jim as an example because in the background he has his new module that he's been diligently working on and it's looking good. I would suggest that if you do build a layout, you build it modular. So a couple of different reasons. I know you may not be moving, but if you did, you can move the layout without having to destroy it, but you can also switch it out. If you get tired of a scene, you can change it.
Well, and those standardized ends make for easy expansion that you can just keep getting bigger and bigger, sort of do it domino style. That
Right,
just-
if you make the end standardized.
Yeah.
Absolutely. What do you think about that, Christina, building it modular?
no, I actually think that that's a good idea, and I've seen some extremely incredible modular layouts, and I've seen what they can do with them and what they've done with them at shows, and I think I can get just as creative on a modular as a full size layout, and no, that's definitely something that I've kept in the back of my head about starting off there, and then like you said, I change my mind, I get bored, I want to switch out structures, I want to, I love the scenery parts and all the little things, so. And I know my daughter too will enjoy. She's already got my Christmas villages all rearranged, so I can only imagine what she would do to a layout.
Right. Now, if you're building a 4x8 layout or a layout that you want to walk around, obviously that would not be modular.
Right.
But a smaller layout like that could almost fit under a bed, can't it?
Right.
In fact, Jim, we built a folding layout. You have that display out there in Champaign where that folding layout with the Bachmann Easy Track on it folds right up. I think when it's folded up, it's like 4 feet by 4 feet, like a carry case. And then when you open, right, I'm showing pictures of it right now because I made a What's Neat video on how that was designed and built.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know, right? Check this out. This is a cool layout, and we changed it up. We made it all black and beautiful and redid the scenery on it a little bit. But that was a really neat display layout, and you still have that, Jim.
And and the neat thing about a layout like that, if you decide to expand, if you have a little bit of computer engineering know-how, you can do what this one gentleman did a couple months ago,
I remember that.
make yourself an automated locomotive speed matching layout where you have your distances set and you have your sensors on the track, and it just with JMRI, it'll just walk through the different speed steps of the locomotive automatically. I'm not sure how long it takes, but you don't have to be right there. You can go make yourself a coffee and come back, and it'll be good.
That's so above my head.
Yeah, mine too, frankly. But it sounds like a neat idea.
You lost me at computer engineering.
Hey, that's kind of my specialty, so I'll go with it.
Jim, tell me what's going on out there in Champaign, brother.
Well, right now, weather's kind of about the same as it is with you, Ken, but pretty excited. We got a new release coming out for Athearn this month. and something that the guys have been asking for. So, real briefly, I'll tell you a little bit about it. It's our new SD70 ACU. So, Norfolk Southern fans know right away what that is, and Canadian Pacific fans should know what that is. So, this is basically.
Tell us what it
On
is.
this locomotive is, you remember the SD90s that we had back in the mid 90s onward?
Right, the
Union
SD90s.
Pacific bought a lot of those, and so Norfolk Southern bought a lot of those cores, and through them and Progressive Rail, they rebuilt those into Tier 4 style locomotives. They have new electronics on them, and pretty much new life for an older locomotive. And of course, CP followed suit soon after. And happy to say that we worked real closely with CP Rail on these. And so, you know, Ken, you know how we've done in the past. I mean, we'll say, hey, if this is a Santa Fe locomotive, it's going to have Santa Fe antenna arrays. And if it's a Conrail locomotive, it's going to have Conrail stuff.
Absolutely.
Well, these are so detailed. Matt Gentry just went overboard on these in a good way. What he ended up doing is CP Rail, they could have just done their standard paint scheme, which is a really eye-catching paint scheme.
Right.
But they also did a heritage unit. So it's got the old maroon and gray with the yellow pinstripe, the script writing. They did some of those.
That is cool.
But then they also did some military ones. They're kind of doing a military version as well. Just to kind of say thank you and support of the troops for both in Canada and the United States. Naval one it looks just like a ship, like a modern day war vessel.
Okay.
It's going to have like a gray, it's going to have like a gray body with that, what they call it, bootstrap sill. It's like a black, and then it's got that red, oxide red.
Yeah.
And then
Oh,
we're also
it's
doing
oxide
the United States calls it a desert sand. The Canadians call it an arid camouflage paint scheme. It's basically like the Humvees and stuff that we saw in Afghanistan and Iraq.
Right.
But what's so cool about these is the Canadians, they don't do anything part way. They are just really think things through. So they realize that with the regular paint scheme, just a standard red paint scheme, that the door latch would be in a certain area so that their beaver logo would be, uninhibited by any type of lock mechanism. But if they went to the older scheme, that logo has changed over the years. It's gotten different sizes. So they had to move the door lock on the heritage ones in a different location. And we've done that with the Athearn locomotives. We could have just said, hey, here's the CP version. We're just going to, paint these over. But no. We actually, or I should say Matt, engineered these so that subtle details like the door mechanism on the nose is different per unit. So now the detail is based on the actual locomotive, not just CP.
How
Oh,
about
wow, that was pretty clever of me.
Yes, I know. Now, I noticed the model in the photographs you sent us, and I've got the SD90 on the table here, the 90 Mac. It looks like on the rear fans, there's 3 of them on the model you're doing, and the Mac only had 2. Is that right?
Yep, and so basically what they did is they did a lot of work on the internal stuff. Just the engine alone. I don't have the specs in front of me, but we do have it on the Athearn website if you want to take a look at it. But the other big giant step was they went to a different electronics, kind of like what they did with the Dash 2s back in the 70s. Remember how we had the straight 40 and the straight 38s, and then we went to Dash 2. Well, they went to a different software, different electronics, because it's hard to believe, but that SD90, I mean, I remember reading about that in about 1995. And as much as a few of us here on the show would hate to admit that the 90s was that long ago, it was. So these basically got updated for the 21st century. And the other big spotting difference is the SD90 had pretty much its own style of cab, and you can see it there on your table.
Oh, you sent us
Whereas the one behind me and the ones that we got pictures of, they're basically using a form of the SD70 Ace cab. So it's a much more updated cab. It's a quiet cab. It's an insulated cab, as the Canadians call it. Yeah, and I mean, we basically had to go through everything to make sure the details were right. Obviously, the Norfolk Southern antenna farm on the cab is going to be different than that of the CP.
Right.
And so all those drawings, I think I sent you a couple of CAD drawings too.
You did.
Yeah.
These pictures are amazing. If I haven't already showed them to everybody.
Well, and I'm just looking at the cab interior. And
Look at that.
You have all those little.
Dynamite.
You have all those little buttons molded onto the bottom of the control screens. It's like you almost expect that you can like reach there and with your fat fingers and push them and it'll come on or something. But it's like
that would be cool.
I mean the roof is actually held on with two rare earth magnets.
Yeah.
You pop that out, and if you want to further detail it, you can. You can put some figures in there if you want. But I mean, it really presents well. I mean,
lit number boards.
Think about it, 8 shows is a good size to show all those details. And with some of the video that I've shot on this locomotive, it's just amazing to me how much detail we're able to pack into these locomotives now.
I agree.
I just remember, I think it was at the World's Greatest Hobby on tour. Last time it was here in St. Louis, several years ago. And I went to the Athearn display booth, and I think the GP38s were out, and you had I think they had the Rock Island schemes. And I was looking in there, seeing the cabs with the lever, like my eyes just kind of popped out of my head. Last time I'd done much with model railroading was back in the mid '90s, which, as you say, is a lot longer ago than any of us want to admit. Right. Which, by the way, it's not that long ago.
Right, the blue box Athearn with a great big headlight in the cab. Remember that? The big light bulb with the cab, right?
the fire cab. Yeah.
Right. Wow, Chris.
And the funny thing about these locomotives is, Matt had been working on these real hard, and we were going to actually release them last year at Train Fest. But that's when we found out about CP Rail doing all of these units, and we're like, you know what? We're going to hold off for a little bit because we know our modelers love heritage schemes, and we know they love different, unique paint schemes. So that's why we held off, and I'm glad we did because they've been really popular with us. We've heard a lot of good comments on them.
That's awesome.
Cool.
Jim,
that's great.
Man, I'm so glad you're working for Athearn. You're just a perfect fit for the company. I'm telling you what, you're great. You're a great new asset to the company, Jim.
Oh, you're too kind.
Now, I want to bring Christina back in because, Christina, I know while you're listening to this, I'm wondering what era and what kind of modeling are you going to do on this new layout that you're planning?
Civil War era, so it's going to be steam.
A lot of 440s.
I am leaning more towards things, that carried war supplies from major city to major city. I've been participating in Zoom meetings with this historical society, and they've got a groups I/O going. So I'm getting a lot of ideas about different railways I can model. If I want more residential, if I want more city, if I want to focus more on the actual movement of the artillery and then the soldiers, things like that. Do I want it early in the war, late in the war? So I'm thinking early war period, and basically just kind of moving all the artillery and the men into place. We'll probably have it based at least no further north than Virginia. I tend to prefer the southern, the southern landscape, the southern story, I guess, and the troubles that they had with actually moving stuff because they didn't have the industry that was going on in the north. So, it's definitely going to be steam, and just as much detail as I can get, and I'm going to be obviously, because I'm, brand manager. I had a brand manager title before too. So my background obviously is not model railroading first, it's marketing. So luckily though, I've got the NMRA, I've got, you guys, it's the whole community has been fantastic. So I know when the time is right, that I'll definitely be able to reach out and have all the help I need. And with the NMRA's partnerships with manufacturers, I can stock up on stuff like my Micromark beginner tool set. I basically paid for my NMRA membership with the one order, the discount on the one order. So when we keep adding more and more manufacturers, so they're all giving discounts. We're also trying to still help out the brick and mortar guys that are still allowed to be open. We're allowing now, if they've got online shops, they can reach out to us and we'll sign them up on the hobby shop side. And so trying to just help keep people going, keep them entertained. The NMRAX has been fantastic for clinics and learning things, and we're finding too that we're reaching modelers, NMRA or not, but we're reaching modelers that for whatever reason, disabilities, whatever, that they can't go to live events, they can't go to shows, they can't go to conventions, meetings, and they're finding these NMRAX webcasts that we've been doing, and they feel part of the community again. They feel part of model railroading again, because even if they can't be there in person, heck, today they had 12 hours long of live 1 hour sessions going on.
Wow.
The Northeast region, we had to cancel our convention. And so we're going to be doing the NERX coming up December 1st to the 4th from 6:30 to 10:30 Eastern time. So we're getting engagement from, and like I said, NMRA members or not, we're finding modelers, we're keeping it open to everybody. And we're getting a lot of great feedback and a lot of people saying thank you. This has kept me sane throughout this whole COVID ordeal. And, I know St. Louis is bad. New Jersey is equally as bad. So, we've got people going back to the hobby that now have time to do it. And like I said, people that haven't been able to really participate the way they wanted to are now finding the joys of Skype and Zoom and GoToMeeting and finding their way through, but they're feeling included again. They're feeling like part of the hobby. They're seeing people and talking and getting to actually interact. So that's been, if you can say, that's been the one positive thing from this. So we're encouraging that everybody who has a podcast or a webcast or anything, keep doing it. Whether COVID is around or not, keep doing the online stuff, because there are a lot of people out there that are interested and just can't happen to make it to live events. So that's been the one positive, and that's the one thing I'm going to keep pushing after all this is over, is just keep going live, guys.
Keep going.
You go, girl.
All right.
I couldn't have said what you just said better. that is the excitement
Spot
of
on.
the NMRA, right?
Right, yep.
And the shows that they're doing and how it's brought people together during
Right.
what it is we're going through.
Right.
And we've done everything we can, to try to keep everybody safe. We don't have anybody in the basement tonight. We invitation only. We're starting to go back just to Skype again with a lot of the shows. I know for sure that I'm a scale 250 feet away from Daniel, and I've got to be a scale 300 feet away in
I want to double check that.
But not to make.
That's how we get around it.
Yeah, there we go.
There we go.
Yeah.
Put the modeling.
But
Camera frames and all.
it's really changed so much in that it's been Christmas for a great deal of manufacturers. They can't keep up with shipping. It's on the other hand, the folks that depend on train shows, they're not doing as well. But we are going to start seeing train shows next year again. I'm sure things will start to gradually get back to normal, and I sure look forward to that.
Oh, absolutely. Well, you know what? If you consider the staying at home, sort of fighting the battle against COVID, this is one battle that we model railroaders have been training for our entire lives. Just
Right.
stay home.
Training.
Keep training.
Training.
Yeah, there you go.
Boom.
Christina, tell us what website would you go to for the folks out there that would love to become members of the NMRA and share in the experience that is that of the NMRA?
It's just www.nmra.org, and there's a nice big button on the homepage that says Join Now. And we're working on continuing to add benefits, continuing to train too the local divisions so that they become more adept at more of the Zoom, online Skype. A lot of them have been holding meetings. They've been holding make and take, kind of virtual make and take, I guess, show and tells. They've been doing raffles, clinics, all kinds of things. So it's exciting to actually see how many, model railroaders, I know they're stereotyped a certain way,
Right.
And so you're seeing, a lot of older people now who are getting very heavy into the technology, and the stereotype is being blown because these guys are walking around with their smartphones and their laptops, and they're learning how to use Zoom, and they're learning how to use breakout rooms and how to film themselves, and things like that. So it's actually an exciting thing. I mean, it's unfortunate how it came about, but I do think that it is a definite plus for the future of the hobby, because you're going to find the younger folks too that are online and using different social media methods, and that's how you're going to reach the younger people too. So
younger people like you, Daniel,
work together.
Yeah, that is the truth. That is the truth.
Yeah.
You know, we've got some beautiful engines on the table, and we've talked about this Amtrak Charger locomotive. We've talked about it 3 shows in a row because it's kind of what's neat this week still.
It's
what
pretty
Amtrak
amazing.
is currently running. But what a lot of people don't know is TCS is the company that has put the decoder in this locomotive for Bachmann, and they worked very closely with Siemens to get all the details right. For example, they've got the Rule 17 dimmable forward headlight and the designation boards also. The flashing ditch lights, which you can see here on this model running, the forward and reverse marker lights, the independently controlled number boards, and the emergency strobe light. We tried it tonight, James.
Right.
When you
In fact, it's flashing right now, as you can see. When you hit the brake function, the maximum number of times, it will set off that emergency flasher strobe until you release the brakes.
Right. You press the brake button 5 times, or you hit the emergency brake. Is that right? And it comes right on.
Right.
And what they did was again, like I said, they consulted Siemens and the manuals to get it right. And I know they do that because we put them in touch with other engineers on the Port Harbor Railroad over here, so they can understand exactly how braking works. They've talked to Eddie Bauer, for example, and they're really on top of it. Dan
Mischio
is a fantastic young man. They've got the youth in the hobby working for that company.
And he was telling me about this field trip that they made out to Pueblo, Colorado, to the National Test Center. And they were sitting right there on the locomotive making the recording of the engine room sound. But not only did they get the sound on the locomotive itself, they got the sound of the locomotive running by with the wind noise.
The whoosh. Is that the whoosh sound you're talking about?
The whoosh, not just the whoosh sound, but for the sound of the motor in this locomotive, they worked very hard to blend not just the prime mover sounds, but also the wind sound as the locomotive goes by. So it's like you're actually rail fanning this locomotive and watching it go by on your layout.
That's cool.
That's what he described to me. He said when they record the sounds, they're focusing on the sounds as you're the rail fan, as opposed to as if you're inside the cab of the locomotive. That's kind of what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
A lot of great information on this model. The super realistic prime mover sounds. They've actually got the sounds of the motors now worked into the decoder.
Right, the traction motors.
The traction motors,
yes.
Correct. There are so many different interesting things. The air compressors, the new dynamic brake grid fan recordings that are specifically unique to this Charger locomotive.
Right.
I mean, they nailed it, man.
Yeah, Dan said he was determined to listen to every aspect, every little tweet, every little burp that locomotive would make, and reproduce it onto this decoder.
Plus, what I like about it is it's got audio assist in it, so it'll talk to me. When I set the sound volume of that locomotive, I've got the girl's voice that comes out of the engine that tells me what button do I want to hit to turn it up or turn it down. And I really appreciate that because I can do that when I'm on the fly, following it around the layout with my throttle in my hand. And one last thing I want to say is they've come out with some new 28mm speakers that are the new high fidelity. And they've got those in this unit. In fact, they're sending us some of those to experiment
with. And as a matter of fact, they are very precisely designed sugar cubes.
Okay.
So that their shells are not just the standard PVC plastic.
Right.
They are using foam instead, with the idea that this will prevent the vibration and produce a truer to life sound with less distortion.
So it'll cushion it a little bit more within the baffle.
Yeah.
That's going to sound great.
That's smart.
Well, in this locomotive here, it just sounds like the real thing all the way.
I like it.
Yeah.
You guys, I love it.
Yeah.
I mean, I love it. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's so different. I mean, how many engines have got a light that you can see through the side of it like that?
Not many.
It's so futuristic almost. Is that what we call it? It's just absolutely amazing. I mean, the bars just keep getting raised higher and higher in this hobby.
Yeah,
I mean, Athearn's done it. Look at the Dash 9s that they were talking about last week, Jim, that you were talking about. You guys seriously raised the bars with that. And now you're doing the same thing with these brand new SD70s that you were talking about tonight. Jim, did I see you had an NCE power cab on your layout back there? Look at that.
There it is.
Yep, there it is.
You know, that's
Why do you say that?
that's what we're using to run the models on the table tonight.
As a matter of fact,
You
yeah,
set that up.
you
Is that
can
right?
you cannot get much more convenient than this thing.
Now
I mean, you literally just clip 2 gator clips to the track and you're good to go.
You see, if we had the radio antenna, all 3 of us could have been running one train, or at least blasting the
4
horn,
inches back
ringing the
and
bell.
forth, right.
See, you could
That
have
would be
had
so
this.
annoying. That would be annoying. That would
And
be
we-
cool. But I do want to talk about that. We're going to start talking about that next month because I want folks to see the packaging that the power cab comes in, so you can recognize it when you go to the hobby store. And I always talk about the system that I use on my layout. And I dug the
Pro.
box out of the garage the other day. I've got the one with the radio in it, and I've got the PH Pro R, and it comes with a great big box like this. And so what you get is you get the throttle, the radio throttle, transmitter, the great big bass unit, you get the face plates. It comes with everything you need to set up a layout the size of my layout and make it operate with radio. And I love it, and I want to thank NCE for helping us put on this show, your show, the show that promotes the best hobby in the world. So I think we might be coming up to the end on this one, guys. Is we want to go around the table and see if we've got everybody covered? Christina, anything else? Jim, anything else you guys want to discuss?
I just want to thank you for continuing to promote the hobby, for having people from the NMRA on to talk about the hobby and to talk about the NMRA. I've even learned some cool stuff just by participating with the show. NCE happens to be my preferred controller, so
They work.
Yeah.
it's neat. It really is neat though to see the new things that are coming out. And for anybody listening, the NMRA welcomes everyone. We've got a lot of cool things going on. We're trying to adapt and grow and keep up with the times. So you're going to see some positive things coming up. And for people like Athearn and the other manufacturers out there, you can always reach out to the NMRA too as you're developing new things, and then we can help promote each other. So I'm just happy you guys had me back. I'm glad to see everybody's safe and doing well, and I am really happy to see that model railroading, despite what's going on, continues to grow. So for those people who say it's a dying hobby, I say
I don't think so.
No.
I know. Jim, tell me how great it is to be working in your favorite hobby and industry. I mean, come on, you're living it. You're living the dream.
I will, but you know what? I forgot something.
Okay.
Remember I told you the ST-70s come in both Norfolk Southern and CP?
Right.
Yep.
Wouldn't it be cool when you show up at a train show next year if you had a matching shirt?
Ooh.
Oh, sneak peek.
Oh, there's more.
Oh, boy. Look at
Look at
that.
that. That's
Rock on.
You see that?
I didn't quite see the back.
I didn't get the
see the
back.
back.
Stand up
Didn't
tall.
see the back? All right, hold
Nope,
on.
stand up tall.
Here we go. There we go. So you see it now?
Canadian
All
Pacific.
right, now we get the idea.
Yeah.
Oh, we can see it.
Yeah, you saw the Canadian Pacific.
How about
So
that?
we're hoping to, if we get enough feedback from the customers, we did a Norfolk Southern version in black, of course, and we did the CP in red.
Okay.
So if we get enough feedback from everybody, you might have these in stock next year when your locomotives come in. So
Oh, so
give us a
there's,
holler. But yeah, you're absolutely right. This is the greatest hobby in the world. I love my job. I love every day we get to play with these. This is awesome.
That's awesome.
Yep.
And by the way, he's my boss.
Oh, okay. Yeah. There you go.
nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
So, guys, best hobby in the world.
Best hobby in the world.
Best people in it.
Yeah.
What are you thinking?
Well, there's one more thing I did want to mention. And it's
one more
one
thing.
more
One
thing.
more.
Yeah. And in fact, it's these rotary beacons on these locomotives right here. And I'm working as we speak on a how-to video that'll go into January's What's Neat on how you can take an A-Tiny 13 chip. You can program it with a few basic lines of code and install one of these in your locomotive. And the hardest thing is to get the wiring right so that they're firing off in the right order.
Yep.
But yeah, so I've done 2 of my own right now, and the one thing I'll warn you is once you do one, it's hard to stop. But every other install you got to do, you just kind of raise the bar on yourself.
Are you telling me that writing code is like addictive?
No, installing these beacons becomes addictive.
So-
Writing a code for me is still a little bit like pulling teeth, but
oh.
You're awesome. I'm telling you what, the video that you made on that Trackmobile, I mean, wow. I mean, sometimes my eyes glaze over, but then I take a time out, I get a drink, and then I come back and I watch the rest of it, and it seems easy. You make it seem easy, and I appreciate the way you do that in the videos that you make for us.
Well, it is easy. There was just a lot of planning that it went into
it's that computer stuff, you know? It's yeah.
Well, hey.
Give me some plaster. Let me make some scenery.
Wait a minute.
No electronics.
I mean, coming up with the idea of what you want the computer to do is easy.
I don't want to have a blueprint.
Trying to
getting
get the
easier
computer
nowadays.
to understand what you want it to do.
A tiny 13 chip, you know? I mean, I know what that is.
Yeah.
Rock and roll. Guys, happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy
Yes,
your
happy
families.
Thanksgiving.
Everybody
Happy
out there,
Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
be safe out there as you run your model railroads. And with that, guys, you know what we're going to do now? We're going to go run some trains.
All
Let's do
right.
it.
Okay, we need a thumbnail shot. And that's where everybody gets to smile at the camera and wave and do your antics or whatever, and that'll be our thumbnail. Ready? You're going to take off your mask for that?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Guys on Skype, get the wave. And here we
All
go,
right.
thumbnail. Did we do it?
We did it.
Okay, so I'm going to stop screen capture.
Yes, stop it.
That was it?
Woo!
Why does tonight seem easy?
I don't know, because we've done it so many times
do you think
before
it was
in the
all right?
past.
I think we did okay. What do you guys think?
I know, what do you guys think?
I think it was wonderful.
I love your enthusiasm, Christina. I love it when you're on the show. I didn't get to say that Rand Hood's going to be on next week. I wanted to say that.
Well, there's a surprise for everyone.
and my
next week.
wife's going to be on too again.
Oh, nice.
Again.
I know.
What's she got to talk about now?
She's going to talk with Rand Hood because they're friends.
Oh,
Oh,
that's
nice.
good. Cool. Cool, cool.